Hi, today we're going to learn how to transfer one of your images that you pick onto your printmaking plate so that you can later carve it out. Now, in order to do this, you need to first decide, well, which print do you want? Which image? You should have designed one on either the plain square or the square graph paper you see here. And then you also had to do one other image, which was either on the triangular graph paper or the dot paper. So even though there's 4 options, you only were responsible for designing 2. Of these 2, you can narrow it down to picking one for your actual plate. Now, looking at my designs, I've decided I want to go with this one, and I've decided because when I think about the criteria for this, it has more balance, and I think it has a nice sense of interesting design. Plus, it has a lot of neat different effects that are interesting to me. So I decided to use this one. The first thing I'm going to need to do is also on my tall tables, get a linoleum plate and a Sharpie. I will need to write my name, my mod, and my table number on the back. That way, when my print plate has ink on it, I can make sure to get it back with my table number so everything stays organized. Now, after I've done that, I will need to cut out my image using the scissors that are on your tall tables. So I've decided which one, and I'm going to simply cut it out. Make sure the scrap that's created goes in the recycling bin. So here I am cutting it out. Okay, it doesn't have to be quite perfect. That's okay. This would go in the recycling bin. Scissors will get returned so someone else can use them. Now, it doesn't quite fit. And that's okay. It won't be a problem. If it really bugs you, you can extend your image out to the edges, but it really doesn't matter if it's not quite perfect. The one thing you will need to do though is make sure this is carbon paper. Carbon paper is ink printed on one side. If I went like this, it would make my hands very messy. This side is much lighter. That side doesn't have the ink on it. If you do this the incorrect way, you're actually going to print it on the back of your original instead of on your plate. You can't just trace this through because it's opaque. You can't see through it. So you need to follow these steps. So you will need to have it where the dark side is down, the ink side is down. If you think about it as a sandwich, that would be the jelly in the sandwich, where it's the inside is down. Now it's like you're wrapping a present. You will need to take a piece of tape. Each table has tape at it. Please don't be a tape hog, so if someone else you know needs the tape, you can tear off a piece and let it hang like that and then let someone else use it. And that way you can tear it off. Please don't waste tape either. Now, I'm just wrapping my present here, making sure that the back is the burlap side so I don't do it on the wrong way. So here it is. You can see the dark side is facing the smooth linoleum side, not the burlap side of the plate. Now, once I've done that, I need to go and tape this on as well. That way it won't move and slide. Plus, if I don't finish tracing it in one class period, because you start maybe at the end, you finish designing it, you're ready to move on, then you can just put this in your folder until you're done tracing it. But right now it won't move. Now, I don't want to trace with pencil because if I do not finish, I may not know where I left off. So I'm instead going to be tracing in colored pencils, which are at your tall tables as well. Now, I am going to trace. I'm using either a ruler. I'm going to use a triangle so you can see through it. But you'll notice I'm tracing my lines very neatly in the colored pencil. That way, even if I finish mid-class, I have to run to the restroom, I come back, I can see exactly where I left off. So I have no questions as to how to line it up again. Keep it all taped together until you're completely done. Now, I am going to very quickly transfer this image. Now with the black shapes, you do not need to color them in on this because the ink will smear and you don't want to have ink all over your plate. So you can simply write a letter B and that letter B will transfer. At this point you can see that I have finished tracing everything on my original design. I went with the hatching lines. I made all the lines, I drew the lines in for the shapes that I want to remain on the plate that are going to be the positive shapes. I just wrote a B for black instead of coloring them in. Now I'm ready to unwrap this. You want to carefully take your tape off. If it accidentally tears the picture, it's not the end of the world though. And it's like you're unwrapping a present to yourself. You will want to keep your original to refer to when you're carving, as well as to make sure if something horrible happens to your plate, something catastrophic, then you have this and you can just trace it again. But when you do take it off, make sure your name is on the back. And then you'll keep that in your folder for reference. Now I get to unwrap. This is the fun part. This scrap is messy. It's inky. You'll want to put this in the trash can. Do not throw it across the room. Walk it over to the trash can, please. Now you can see the image. If there's any part of the image that you're not quite happy with, like for example, remember that it didn't quite line up, you can adjust it. If you realize, oh my goodness, I forgot this one line, you can just draw it in pencil and you can refer to your original sketch to help you. Now this time there's one really important step that you need to do. And that is, and I can see there's one thing I forgot to trace. If I look here, and sure enough, it's not in red. I forgot to draw in that. So there's no way I'd be able to match this up. So I'm just going to draw it in pencil, and now I have my image. Now there's one really important thing that I definitely need to do, and that is turn my plate over. You'll notice my name is sideways. That's very common to have your name the wrong direction or your name actually upside down. Because this is a square plate, once you wrap it, it's hard to tell which way was up. When you go to print, it is important though, because if you do want them all the same direction, then you don't want to have one sideways. On the other hand, if you want to rotate or you want to do up down or different effects, then you will want to do it on purpose. So at this point, I need to go back to my Sharpie after I've traced and write an up arrow. That way I won't have a problem when I print since my name is sideways, and that is very easy troubleshooting that I want you to keep in mind. Is to make that up arrow will make it much easier when you go to print. Thank you so much.